Here we go. Hello and welcome to Truth Revealed. Here today, I am talking about continuously, we'll be talking about for a long time about the atrocities that have happened to Black people here, Black and Brown people here in America, what they have actually done to us, what they continue to do to us collectively with their systemic system, cesspool of bullshit. So I believe that our people have to hear exactly what happened, not just cram it all up together, because there's many of us out here who think that, oh, a couple of things happened, we made a little bit of progress, and then, that happened, but then we rebuilt. No, you need to hear exactly what these cuckoo birds have done to us. Here is my channel disclaimer. I am not a scientist, historian. I am a beautiful, melanated queen bringing you the truth of what happened to our people. Disclaimer. This channel is dedicated to documenting and examining historical and contemporary injustices affecting Black Americans, including government actions, law enforcement conduct, institutional discrimination, civil rights violations, and other matters of public concern. The content presented is for educational, documentary, journalistic, and commentary purposes. All information is based on publicly available sources, historical records, court documents, news reports, and independent research. This channel does not promote violence, hatred, harassment, or unlawful conduct against any individual, group, agency, or institution. The purpose of this content is to preserve historical awareness, encourage critical thinking, and foster informed public discussion. Viewer discretion is advised, as some content may include disturbing historical events, graphic accounts, or sensitive subject matter. Boom. Now let's get to it. Because what is one of these sayings? Let me get to that. It says, beating a dead horse with a stick, some shit like that. But I don't believe in a system, but many of us do. Many of us believe I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat, I'm a this, I'm a that. You want some part of the system. When the system was designed for exclusion of you specifically. I'm going to go off and I'm going to read what's been happening to our people since the infiltrators touched ground, basically what they have been doing. In my other videos, it's there. This video was cut, so I think I just need to start this one over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the next 50. This is 50 that I'm going to be reading to you. 50 Black communities that were deliberately destroyed by those that you trust today. Okay, so let's get to that. I need to plug this up real quick so we can make sure we don't get cut off. I thought I had everything covered, but I'm missing one thing. Okay. So anyway, yeah. Okay, that's cool. So let me get to it right here. Is where we're at. Here are 50 more distinct Black towns. I did 60. Check my other videos out. Those of you who are very sensitive, you probably need to go to another channel, because I have to put out here what happened. Is it going to be elongated, like a long ass story on each one? No, but it's going to give you a description and a name and a place and a time of when these infiltrating cuckoo birds have systemically interrupted our very lives, as they do all the time. So let's start off here with the very first. Okay, so in my other one, I started with Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I know everybody knows about that one. And if you don't, you need to read up on it. And don't just read just about Tulsa. Tulsa, you need to read about all the surrounding, independently thriving, economically sound communities that were also destroyed at that same time in 1921 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The story is deep, and I'm going to do another story on it. So here we are. 50 more distinct Black towns and communities destroyed, displaced, or systematically dismantled. None of these are repeated from the previous list. So I'll be starting at number 16 because my video had got cut off. So we are back. Little Liberia, Bridgeport, Connecticut, mid-1900s. One of Connecticut's oldest Black communities was dismantled through urban renewal and highway construction backed by state and federal funding. Scattered and deeply rooted Black population that had lived in the area since before the Civil War. Destroyed. Colored Town, Miami, Florida, and starting from 1896 through 1960s. The original Black settlement that built much of Miami's early infrastructure was systematically hemmed in by racially discriminatory zoning, then partially demolished through urban renewal as the city expanded, confining Black residents to an ever-shrinking footprint. Washington addition, Salinas, California. In the 1900s, a Black community in California's Salinas Valley was displaced through a combination of agricultural company pressure, racially discriminatory housing policies backed by local government, and urban renewal that eliminated affordable housing for Black farm workers and their families. Sounds familiar? Tin Cup, Muskogee County, Oklahoma, early 1900s. One of dozens of all Black towns established in Indian Territory before Oklahoma statehood, was economically destroyed after statehood in 1907. When Oklahoma's new state government immediately imposed Jim Crow laws that dismantled the legal and economic framework that had allowed Black towns to thrive. Langston, Logan County, Oklahoma, ongoing decline to this day. Named after John Mercer Langston, this all-Black town and home of Langston University was economically strangled after Oklahoma's statehood imposed segregation laws and denied the town the infrastructure, investment, and state support given to white communities, beginning a century-long decline. Lima Quarters, Savannah, Georgia. Post-Civil War, a freedmen's community established on the outskirts of Savannah was driven off its land through legal manipulation and violent intimidation by former Confederate landowners, operating with a tacit approval of local law enforcement after federal Reconstruction troops withdrew. Urban Crest, Franklin County, Ohio. From the mid to the 1900s, a Black municipality near Columbus was economically isolated by surrounding white communities that refused to share water and sewer infrastructure. Used county government to block commercial development within Urban Crest borders and lobbied state officials to limit the town's taxing authority. Penrose, Colorado Springs, Connecticut, a Black neighborhood Colorado, it's Colorado, and Colorado Springs was demolished through urban renewal backed by city and federal funds, with Black residents displaced and their community institutions destroyed to make way for development that primarily served white residents. The Acre Lowell, MA, Massachusetts, a multiracial community with a significant Black population was demolished through urban renewal that city planners used to eliminate what they called blight, a term routinely applied to Black and immigrant neighborhoods, regardless of their actual condition. That means well kept. Didn't matter how you had it going on. They were looking to destroy what you built. Brooklyn, Omaha, Nebraska, 1919 and beyond. Following the 1919 race riot, Omaha's black neighborhoods were subjected to intense police surveillance, racially discriminatory zoning, and systematic economic exclusion, backed by city government that prevented black residents from rebuilding the wealth destroyed during the riots. This is what they do. This is what they're still doing. Mechanicsville, Atlanta, Georgia, 1950s through the 1960s, a black neighborhood was demolished through Atlanta's aggressive urban renewal program, which displaced tens of thousands of black residents citywide under Mayor William Hartsfield's development plans that consistently routed destruction through black communities. Sand Hill, Columbia, South Carolina, post Reconstruction, a black land owning community established during Reconstruction, was stripped of its land through racially targeted tax manipulation, legal fraud, and sheriff backed intimidation as white supremacist governments retook power in South Carolina after 1876. Disturbing. Jewtown, Charleston, South Carolina, mid 1900s. Despite its name, this was a predominantly black neighborhood that was demolished through urban renewal backed by city and federal government, eliminating black owned businesses and displacing families who had lived in the area for generations. Promised Land, Reconstruction, Texas, post 1870s. Posted 1870s. Numerous black communities established across Texas during Reconstruction by freed slaves who had legally purchased land were systematically dispossessed through a combination of fraudulent legal proceedings, sheriff enforced evictions, and violent night rider terrorism backed by local Democratic Party political machines. Freedmanstown, Dallas, Texas, late 1900s. Dallas' historic black freedmen's community was demolished through decades of city-backed redevelopment, highway construction, and deliberate infrastructure neglect that displaced black residents while preserving and investing in surrounding white neighborhoods. Clarksdale, Riverton, Coahoma County, a black community in the Mississippi Delta, was kept in conditions of extreme poverty through sharecropping contracts enforced by local sheriffs, denial of federal agricultural program benefits that white farmers received, and violent reprisals against any black residents who attempted to organize or leave. Dunbar, Little Rock, Arizona, 1960s. A historic black neighborhood in Little Rock was demolished through urban renewal and highway construction that the city routed through black communities, destroying the economic and social infrastructures that has sustained black Little Rock through the Jim Crow era. Treme Extension, New Orleans, Los Angeles, 1960. Let's just say, okay, let me just go with Treme Extension in New Orleans. Says New Orleans, LA. Must be Los Angeles. But when you hear New Orleans, you thinking Los Angeles. LA. No, that's Louisiana. Okay, let's get the Louisiana part right. Okay. LA's a city and the okay. My bad, y'all. Bear with me. Treme Extension, New Orleans, Louisiana. Beyond the historic Treme core, surrounding black neighborhoods were demolished by the city to build the Claiborne Avenue Expressway, which destroyed one of the most important black cultural corridors in America, lined with oak trees under which black community life had flourished for generations. Gospel Hill. You know what else I hear when you hear that, for generations? That means we've been here. We've been here. Gospel Hill, Charlottesville, Virginia, 1960s. Adjacent to Vinegar Hill, this additional Black neighborhood was also targeted by Charlottesville's urban renewal program, with Black residents displaced and their community erased as the city pursued development projects that consistently prioritized white interests over Black community preservation. Freedmen's Village, Arlington, a community of freed slaves established on Robert E. Lee's former plantation during the Civil War by the Union Army, was forcibly dismantled by the federal government itself at the turn of the century, with residents evicted to make way for what would eventually become Arlington National Cemetery. Plateau, Mobile County, the community surrounding Africatown, founded by survivors of the last slave ship, has faced a century of industrial encroachment permitted by state and local government, with petrochemical plants, paper mills, and waste facilities surrounding the community and poisoning residents, while regulators consistently sided with industry over the Black community. Harlem Heights, Tampa, Florida, 1960s. A Black neighborhood in Tampa was demolished through urban renewal backed by city and federal funds, with residents displaced to make way for the University of Tampa's expansion and downtown development projects that serve white Tampa while destroying Black Tampa. Bronzeville, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 1950s, 1970s. Milwaukee's historic Black cultural district was dismantled through a combination of urban renewal, freeway construction, and racially discriminatory public housing policies backed by city and federal government that concentrated Black residents in high-rise projects while eliminating the neighborhood fabric that has sustained Black Milwaukee. The Bottom, Lexington, 1950s through the 1960s. A Black neighborhood along the town Branch Creek in Lexington was demolished through urban renewal, with Black residents displaced and their community institutions destroyed to make way for commercial development, while the city simultaneously denied Black residents access to white neighborhoods through racially restrictive covenants. You guys are into the covenants. The churchgoers are into the covenants. You should. What does this one do for you? Fairmount Heights, Prince George's County, Maryland, mid 1900s. One of the oldest Black municipalities in Maryland, faced decades of state-backed discrimination in road funding, utility access, and school resources that systematically disadvantaged Black residents compared to neighboring white communities receiving full state investment. Whitesboro, Cape May County, New Jersey, ongoing decline to this day. Founded by George White, a Black congressman, this all-Black community on the New Jersey shore was economically isolated through surrounding white communities' refusal to share infrastructure and resources, combined with state neglect that allowed the town to slowly decline despite its historic significance. New Africa Boulevard County, 1970s. A Black cooperative community established by civil rights activists in the Mississippi Delta attempting to create economic self-sufficiency, was subjected to FBI COINTELPRO surveillance, local law enforcement, harassment, and economic pressure from white landowners backed by county officials that ultimately forced the community to disband. All of that all together. That's called a system. Systematic. Soul City, Warren County, North Carolina, 1970s. An ambitious planned Black community founded by civil rights leader Floyd McKissick with federal funding was deliberately destroyed when the federal government, under pressure from Senator Jesse Helms, withdrew its funding commitment and foreclosed on the project in 1979, killing what would have been one of the most significant experiments in Black self-determination in American history. Lincoln Heights, Washington, D.C., mid-1900s, a historic Black neighborhood in Northeast D.C., was subjected to decades of city government neglect, denial of basic services, and discriminatory zoning that prevented commercial development, keeping Black residents in poverty while surrounding areas received investment. Mm-mm. If this ain't disturbing to you, and this ain't even half. Pyburn, Marengo County, post Reconstruction. A Black farming community established during Reconstruction was systematically dispossessed through legally manipulated debt contracts, crop lien laws that trapped Black farmers in permanent debt to white landowners, and violent enforcement by county sheriffs that made resistance impossible. Kendleton, Fort Bend County, Texas, and ongoing to this day, one of Texas' oldest Black municipalities established by freed slaves, has been economically strangled for generations through surrounding communities' refusal to share water infrastructure, state neglect of highway access, and the systematic exclusion of commercial development that has left the town unable to generate sufficient tax revenue to maintain basic services. Lincoln, Sacramento County, California, early 1900s, a Black community that had established itself in Northern California, was driven out through a combination of local ordinances, law enforcement, harassment, and vigilante violence backed by community leaders who organized explicitly to make the area inhospitable to Black residents. Do you see the shit they've been doing? Hold on, I need to turn something around. I'll be right back. Give me a second. Okay, I have to turn my heat around. My cooling system I got going. Okay? Because this shit back to be hot. Because this is ridiculous. And you ain't even heard the half. Rosewood Heights, East St. Louis, Illinois, post 1917. Following the 1917 massacre, Black neighborhoods throughout East St. Louis were subjected to systematic economic exclusion, police harassment, and city government neglect that prevented Black residents from rebuilding the wealth and community infrastructure destroyed during the riots, creating a cycle of poverty and disinvestment and it persisted for generations. New Philadelphia, Pike County, Illinois, mid 1800s, early 1900s, founded by Frank McWhorter, W-O-R-T, W-O-R-T-R, M-C-W-O-R-T-R, a freed slave in 1836 as the first town legally platted and registered by a Black man in America. New Philadelphia, let me read that again. New Philadelphia, Pike County, Illinois, mid 1800s through the early 1900s, founded by Frank McWhorter, a freed slave in 1836, as the first town legally platted and registered by a Black man in America. New Philadelphia thrived for decades until railroad companies, with government approval, deliberately routed lines away from the town, economically destroying it in the same pattern used against Nicodemus and other Black communities. Africville, Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada, 1960s. White technically in Canada. Yeah, that didn't sound right. Hold on. While technically in Canada, this century's old Black Nova Scotian community, this century's old Black Nova Scotian community is deeply connected to African American history. as many residents descended from Black loyalists and escaped American slaves. The city of Halifax deliberately surrounded Africville with a slaughterhouse, a fertilizer plant, and a garbage dump before demolishing the entire community through urban renewal in the 1960s. Let me read that again. Did you hear what I just said? The city of Halifax deliberately surrounded Africville with a slaughterhouse, a fertilizer plant, and a garbage dump before demolishing the entire community through urban renewal in the 1960s, displacing residents in city dump trucks. A case so egregious that the city formally apologized and paid reparations in 2010, making it one of the few cases where any government acknowledged responsibility. Is that terrorism? Because if that's not terrorism, I don't know what is. Your own government surround you with trash, shit, literally, guts, blood. How evil is that? You do it to a community that is thriving, a community that means you no harm, minding their own business, building their own economically sound system. And you come in with pig guts. You come in with a fertilizer plant. Now fertilizer stink. Black people, we don't do that. No, we don't. And a garbage dump before demolishing the entire community through urban renewal in the 1960s, meaning that we still stuck it out. We stuck it out. We didn't cave in, we didn't give in, we were still there. So they just came in and bulldozed the shit. Like, okay, well then, since they ain't gonna leave after we do all of that, then we're just gonna come in and we're just gonna tear their shit down. Oh, so this is Truth Revealed, so you can hear it out loud, and I will be coming back with more. Thank you for viewing my channel. Please like and subscribe if you want to hear what our people have been through. You want to know the details, because the details are important. It's important to know exactly what these things have done to us and what it's doing to everybody else. You can see it all around you. It's up to you to figure out who's doing it. It's up to you to figure out, do you stay on the wheel? Do you stay on the wheel? Is it good for us to stay on the wheel because we think we got to figure it out? But I'll be back with 20, 30, 40, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600 more. So you can hear it. This is what they do. And then after we go through all of it, then we all can sit down together and then figure out and see how we sound after we still be talking about we want to be a Democrat. We want to be a Republican. You want to be a part of their shit. And then hear us say how we're going to build communities that we've done it thousands of times. Here in America, it's not that we haven't. Look deeper. Like and subscribe and be back, because I'm coming back with some more information, knowledge, history of what happened to us here in Black America. Talk to you soon.